Okay, welcome back to the D3 Energy live stream. I am Greg Davis, founder of D3 Energy, and I appreciate you taking a few moments with me today. And I'm going to take a little break away from talking about new conventional oil and gas activity that's happening that many people don't know about, and talk to you a bit about what a big development this week, and that is the new tax bill and what's going on with that. And I talked a little bit about how great it's going to be for American corporations and for the oil and gas industry, and how paying less tax is going to allow the industry to invest more money into projects, hire more people. But I want to talk to you about one part of the tax bill that a lot of people are talking about. There's a lot of misunderstanding and confusion about it, and let me share a little bit about that today. So in the tax code, in the new tax code, is the approval of drilling in ANWR in Alaska. And what is ANWR? ANWR is the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And it's been a hot button issue. It's an area that contains billions and billions of barrels of oil. It's right near the North Slope, Prudhoe Bay, where the industry has been operating for decades and providing a tremendous amount of oil to America's oil supply, creating jobs. But ANWR is an area that has been off limits for quite some time. And it was added to the tax bill because if drilling is allowed there, it can generate well over $400 billion of tax revenue in federal and state and local taxes. And it can create tens of thousands of jobs. And it will obviously add billions of barrels to America's reserves of oil and gas, which continue to help us be hydrocarbon dominant. And the other thing that it does, many of you may not know this, but may have heard this, but every Alaskan gets a check every year from the government, from the state of Alaska. It varies between $1,000 and $2,000 a year. Now it's at $1,000 because oil production is declining there, but every Alaskan gets a check. So it creates wealth, it adds to the income of folks that live in Alaska. It is a provider of a huge amount of potential revenue to the federal government, which will offset the tax breaks that corporations and individuals are now going to have, to the tune of about $400 billion. So help us reduce our deficit, create tens of thousands of jobs, and add to our national security. It's a huge win for America. But many people are concerned about the environment and what does it mean. And let me share a little bit about that. So ANWR is about 19 million acres. It's an area in the farthest north reaches of Alaska. And it's a beautiful area, and it does have wildlife, and it has a lot of snow and glaciers. And it is a coastal plain that basically has some mountains that run off into the Arctic Ocean. And as I said, there's been drilling going on there for decades, which is why the Alaska pipeline was built. But ANWR is an area that's been off limits because folks are concerned, environmental groups are concerned, and rightly so, that if oil development happened, that the wildlife is protected. Well, ANWR is 19 million acres. The amount of acreage that is going to be set aside for drilling for oil and gas is about 2,000 to 3,000 acres. So about 1 acre for every 10,000 acres. That's what is needed to tap the billions of barrels of oil that are there. So a tiny, tiny fraction. And I've actually been to the area. And if you haven't been to the North Slope, it's an amazing place. I went there one winter to visit an oil company. And you fly 6 hours to Anchorage. Then you get on a small plane and fly an hour and a half to the North Slope. And there we landed on an ice runway. And it was about 40 degrees. And it is a very barren, remote area. And it is vast. There was not a single bit of civilization between taking off out of Anchorage and landing on that ice runway on the North Slope. So it is a very inhospitable place. It's a place that most people will never go to, but nonetheless it needs to be protected. So the point is, this area is a tiny little fraction, about 1 acre out of every 10,000, so a tiny little area in this giant preserve. And again, the oil industry, contrary to what a lot of people believe, is the oil industry is very, very careful when it comes to drilling and operating in the North Slope. In fact, you cannot go there, you cannot operate during the summer months. You can only drill during a certain period of time in the winter when everything is frozen and everything has to be trucked in. It's a very, very expensive place to operate. So I just recently visited with a company that has a giant discovery up there of billions and billions of barrels of oil. And they spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to just test the oil up there. And they found oil, and it is there. But the challenge is it's going to cost $10 billion to just produce that first barrel of oil. $10 billion project, but they're working on it. And they're trying to get there. But here's one of the challenges for everybody, and then I will be done. So opening up ANWR is going to be fantastic for America for many, many reasons. But the chances are that there will not be any drilling there for quite some time. One is most likely there will continue to be lawsuits from environmental groups that will have to be dealt with. Secondly, the government of Alaska, the governor, just ended tax breaks to the oil companies, tax incentives to oil companies to drill there. So they've removed those. The state of Alaska used to return capital to the oil companies for the massive amount of infrastructure that is needed to develop oil up there. Like I said, this one company that has a massive discovery, it's not in ANWR, it's aside from ANWR, they're not even going to be able to get to it unless they can work things out with the government, because the government is withholding, the state government is withholding tax breaks to the tune of like $100 million. And so the challenges are great. So for now, because of these issues, yes, it's great that the Congress and Senate and the President is now going to sign into law the ability for oil companies to go drill and produce up there. But challenges remain. Huge capital costs, billions and billions of dollars. Environmentalists will still be fighting it, and that's a whole nother discussion. And the state of Alaska is trying to sort out what they're going to do because they're running out of money. Oil production is down there, and the amount of money that they are paying to their citizens every year has gone from about $2,000 to $1,000. So the only way to get that up is going to be more drilling, but they're withholding those tax breaks to the government. So it's a bittersweet victory for America, for the oil and gas industry, for Alaskans, because now suddenly this area is now open for drilling, but there are so many hurdles that remain. So that's a little bit about ANWR, and I'll be posting a couple of articles that give you some maps of the area and show you just how big or small it is compared to the vastness of the area. Many states could fit within the bounds of ANWR. And again, the oil companies only need a tiny fraction to drill on to extract the billions of barrels. But for now, drilling is going to be on hold there until issues can be worked out with the government. But it is a huge windfall. And again, that oil up there is conventional oil and gas. And it can be gotten with conventional means. And it's a vast resource and great for America. But for now, it will be on hold until things can get worked out. So I hope, and we should all hope, that responsible drilling happens in ANWR. It's a huge prize for all Americans. Jobs, tax revenue, money for Alaskans' pockets, and great for America and our energy security. So, Greg Davis, thank you for spending time with me today. Please like and share with your friends, and I'll be back again. Thank you.